Hello everyone, this is Angela Robinson with the UAT Game Engine Programming class for spring 2019 summer 2019. This is my Milestone 3 video. So this week we were working with enemies, enemy spawning, nav meshes, and some editor scripting as well. So what I'm going to show you here real quick is just showing that from milestone 1 and 2 everything still works correctly with my character. So I've got my character moving and can jump, can pick up weapons, and so now as you can see here I've got some enemies. Kind of touches on the next thing here, that the enemies do equip a weapon. They are shooting at me and they just killed me. And I also spawn after a few. Oh, I thought I fixed that check, but I will change that. So so that is elements 1 and 2. So the next thing on the list is the Navmesh built. So let's take a look. Here is my new scene that I've made. I've added a second layer of this, and let's just turn off the gizmo so you can take a look a little bit really quick. And let me look at the Navmesh. There we go. So as you can see, the Navmesh, I have it baked and it shows areas going up the stairs, and over here I left all of this at default, but basically the agent radius is think of it kind of like your cylinder or capsule collider. This actually uses a cylinder, so for the humanoid agent, it uses a radius of 0.5, a height of 2. That's how height my agent is, my player, and step height of 0.75. So anything under that set 0.75, they will be able to, the agent will be able to step up steps on that. The max slope is 45 degrees, so that is any slope below that the character will be able to walk on. Anything above that they won't be able to walk on. I didn't do anything too much about the areas. That's a little bit more advanced for me. I do plan on looking at that, but you can set up your own areas for walking or swimming, even walking in water. Just putting a cost to it of how difficult it is. The higher it is, the more difficult it is to do. And then of course I've also baked it with the height mesh to accommodate for any kind of space between. You see, if you look here, the blue is the actual mesh and the height mesh is that purple on that, and there's a slight difference, so that just helps it helps the agents go all the way down to the floor. So that is the Navmesh built. Let's see, I have a second display here, just because I feel like it shows it a little bit better about all of our components that we were doing this week. So I'm gonna run this again. So I've got 3 enemy spawn points, one in each of the bottom quarters and one up at the top. As you can see, he actually navigates down the stairs, and they do navigate towards my player. And as I run around, they shoot at me. And now I have each spawn point I'll show you here. Each spawn point set at a maximum of 5 enemies coming out of that spawn point. Once it hits 5 enemies, it will not spawn anymore. I've got it set for a 20-second spawn interval between them, and there we go. I believe my other respawn points are here. So I might clean that up a little bit before making my build, but that is the spawning enemy. Now let me show you about them actually dying as well. And as you can see, they are using root motion. There is the animation on that. So let me pick up a gun here, and if I shoot at him, they bounce back a little bit from the force of my bullets, and my shotgun does a little bit more damage. Let's see if I can kill one here. And I've also got that on it. There we go. So he went on a ragdoll, and it's got on a delay of 5 seconds after they do the ragdoll. They will disappear. So let's take a look at the code a little bit on that. So here's my enemy script, and I've got the required Navmesh for it to be able to move, and it is inheriting from the character script, which the player script also inherits from character. So the character does a lot of the information. It's got the IK information. I did move the IK information to the character script so that it handles with the enemies as well. And so let's go back to the enemies here. I've got the Navmesh. I've got the target, which normally will be the enemy, or the player that the enemy is going after. This is where I actually need to change my my check, what I was getting the null references for. All I would do here is if let's do this. So if player doesn't exist, ignore. Is what it would do. I will fix that by the next milestone. So, and then I also have it picking a random weapon. As you can see, I don't have the weapons here. I have that on the character one, but so it does inherit from that. I also have a check here, a try catch block, of if there were any weapons put in. Let me find my enemy here. Enemy script right here. So if you don't set these up in the inspector here for the guns, the try catch block will catch that and throw you a message. There weren't any weapons found in the inventory. So that's if like it was at a 0, there wasn't any of them put in there at all, and the length is 0. And then this is if we did change the length on it, made it 5, or so like if I had 3 here, I would put and then I didn't have anything in that, and it tried to pick that element, then it would give me that message of that there was no weapon found at that index. So, and as I say in my comment here, if there is no target to move to, the animator, it stops. So and it also checks to see if it has a current weapon. Then it checks for the distance of the target before it will actually shoot, because I do have it to where it is spawning with a weapon, but eventually if you were to expand and enemies don't start with a weapon being spawned, this would check to see if there is a weapon equipped. And then we are setting the destination to the target that we picked. Normally it would be the player, but so if I were to actually comment that out so it doesn't automatically make the target, because I don't have it in here. So if I were to, let me do my display too here. Okay, so as you can see, because there is no target in the enemy there, they're not moving, it just stops. So but if I were to put a target in, oh, let me just uncomment that. So now that it automatically picks the target up and it goes towards the target. So that's that. And here is making sure that the Navmesh agent uses the velocity of the animator. And we're looking at the target all the time. And this is my ragdoll on and off. I found that I needed to actually turn off the agent as well on the enemy. This is an override on the base ragdolls, which we can look at here in a little bit. But here is here's the die base one where it turns on the ragdoll. I have a bool on whether or not it's true or not, just to make sure that if anything is relying on them, if that bool is true, then it will turn off any kind of animators, any kind of colliders, anything that needs to be taken care of. I added this check in here because the weapons, since I don't have the weapons on one of the bones, they were still standing up about 2 units or a unit above the ground when the player or the enemy died. So what I did is I just made sure that that weapon actually falls as well and changed the position to that. So, and now the next thing is, let's see, I've shown the root motion for the enemy. I've shown that the enemy shoots at the player, and we can get a little bit closer look at the enemy actually equipping a weapon here. So you can see how the IK works. Waiting for it to go over to the scene here. Okay. So, yeah. And we have it. This guy. Okay, I do see something that I need to adjust as well, is the hint on the actual enemy for the rifle weapon, but it's okay. I will mark that as needing to work on for the next one. But here is the smaller gun, the shotgun, using the IK on that, and it works. So let's see if it's because I have it paused. So but if I were to go over to one of them here, it should, yep, move his hands along with it. So it's the exact same, you know, stuff that I created for the player. It's just because it is on the base script that both the player and the enemy inherits from. They are both able to utilize the IK. So, and it's the same thing with the ragdoll as well. So, but and then the ragdoll on death, I did show that a while ago, but here is the base script character with the ragdoll. So what I did is at the top of here, I added to pick the actual current rigid body and the collider. I wrote down the steps here from our lecture of what needs to be done in each one here. So this is step 1 and step 3 together, and this is step 2 and I'm sorry, this is yeah, 1 and 4 is up here, and 2 and 3 are down here for the collider. So, sorry, I was reading that. But I have a for each loop going through. Not only did I get the current rigid body, but I also got a list of the children that is on there for the ragdoll. So this is all the lists. So here's where I'm actually grabbing the parent rigid body and collider, and then this is where I'm getting all of them, which includes the parent as well. So and it's using get components and children, and as you notice, I also used the system.link here to change that to a list, since I used a list up here instead of an array. Since I used the list because I didn't know exactly how long an array would be. I didn't want to get any errors at start of, the array wasn't initialized. So for me, I just like lists better than arrays. But so down here on our ragdolls, so that's what I'm doing, is I'm going through each one of those lists, the rigid body list and the collider list, with a for each loop, and comparing to see. I had a little bit of trouble with this not getting the correct instance ID. I did have just initially game object dot get instance. That's why you see these here, because I was just doing some debugging there. Didn't catch that to clean it up, but so it's just checking the instance ID of the rigid body of each rigid body that's in the list, plus the instance ID against the instance ID of the rigid body on this character, this object. And if it is the parent object, then it does number 4 here, turns on the kinematic for the rigid body, and then everything else is false for ragdoll on. Of course, that's opposite for the ragdoll off. So turning it off on the main one and turning them on the on the children. And then the same thing with the collider. So I'm checking the instance ID again for the parent and doing what it needs for the rag on. So turning the collider off and then turning them on for all the children whenever they die, and then whenever they're alive, it's on for the main and off for all the children. And then at the end of each one, I'm turning off the animator. That's that. This is all on the parent script. Now in each script after that, I did not have to override it in the player script. So that was pretty easy there. But the enemy, I did have to override them because the agent was not stopping. So I did need to change that. So that is the ragdoll on death. And as you saw earlier, the spawning over time. Let me show you on the display too again. So you'll see here. Here's the first wave. And I'll just run around, watch them run. We're going to be waiting for about 20 seconds. There they are. There's the second wave. So they do spawn in intervals. Okay. So the last thing is the gizmos. Also kind of goes into my above and beyond new mechanic thing. I created a Gizmo script, a little bit more complex than what we talked about in the lecture. So instead of just doing one box, I created a more dynamic Gizmo script. So this is all the gizmos that you can do. So I just put the name of them into an enum called Gizmo type, and so I've got a whole bunch of headers here showing what stuff you can set up. Now I don't know meshes very well, so I didn't do any example of meshes, but I will show you in my scene here of, I believe, we've got, no, okay, there. And if I just open up the script on one of them, it kind of shows them all. Now, just for my own views, I did change, the little icon here for my my weapon respawn and my pickups and my target, so I knew where they were, because I don't actually have a mesh on them or anything. And I didn't want to draw a gizmo on my main prefab. But if you'll see, this little mesh cube here is actually one of the targets. I believe is that one there. So that is actually a cube, and here on the script I have the type wire cube. I've chose the color black, and if I can change the color, move it around, you can see the different colors that you can make the wire mesh there. And this one here, the pickup respawn, is actually the icon. So this one's a little bit different here. You can make it goes along with this icons up here. If you choose other, you can actually choose that from, these are my two icons here. It allows you, even though it shows you every single texture here, really, it will not work if you don't have what you're going to use as your icon in a special folder, which is this one right here, Assets Gizmos. And this is specifically said in the Unity manual that anything that you plan on using as a icon to put into the Assets Gizmos, or else it will not work. And here is my icon settings. So I chose, again, it shows everything. So like if I were to choose that, see, it doesn't show at all. And you can also use different file types as icons. So, but I just chose JPEG. So for this, all of mine are JPEGs. But if you highlight over here, I've got the tooltip, this is the file extension for the photo. Do not include the period before it, but you just need to put the exact file extension of what it's like, the JPG for JPEG, PNG, TIFF, and ICO for icons. So any of that. And then I also should have a canvas, yep. On my canvas here, I have a GUI text. So it shows here on my scene. Well, let me go back down. I did it so I could see it there, but it is on my canvas. But if I, play the game, you'll see in my display that has the GUI, it doesn't show at all. So just try the different aspects, just see what it looks like. It doesn't show it at all, but in the scene it does there. And you can use, this does not have any borders on it, but with the textures you could actually do borders, and see by putting a 1 pixel border there. You can also use an optional material that just kind of overrides your picture or whatever you're doing. So I put GUI text, but it's actually GUI texture is what it is. And then I also have just to show you here a Frustum. Most people use this on cameras because that's what they're used to seeing it on. If you look and see that blue lines here instead of the yellow, that is the Frustum. And I'm sure I'm saying that differently than other people, but that's just how I learned to say it. But so that is, you have the field of view, you have the center of where you want it to be, and how far you want the distance to show. So if I were to put the distance, it actually goes below my, yeah, see, I chose 5 because it actually showed the full distance on my floor. But and the nearest distance that you want is 1, so that's usually what it defaults to. It's a good nearest one. The aspect, it just, I think the main camera defaults at 1.33. I just kept it at 1 here. But the biggest thing is the field of view. You could change it to 50 to make it, higher number makes it a bigger field of view. Lower number makes it a smaller view there, as you can see. So, and right next to that, you see the actual sphere. That is one of my weapon spawns. I think it's that one. Yep. So that one has the gizmo of the sphere. I did at one time have the, let's see, where's the sphere? The sphere is all the way down at the bottom. So that I only have it at a radius of 1. I mean, even a small, you'd think 5 wouldn't be that big, but it is. So, 1 is usually a good thing to do there. But, and I can also make it a wire sphere if I wanted to, and make it, see, there's the wire sphere. So, like I said, I don't know much about meshes though, but there is also a ray setting here that you can set that. Most of the ray settings is usually done like out of weapons. I think a couple of you guys show, some people shown that on their previous milestones that they had a ray going out of their weapon. So that starts in one point and just goes in a direction. And then the line goes from one point to another. You have to have an actual start and end point there. So I don't have those in here at this point, but I only did a few to show you the differences. But here is our required one of the enemy spawn points. So let's just go to the one that I'm highlighted on here. And it actually is the cube. I've got it a red color. I've got it scaled. This is actually the scale that it showed in our lecture, but you can do it any scale really. So I mean, so pretty good there. And really the only other thing I could talk about is this material here. It's something that a lot of people seem to actually put on the forums, but on let me actually play so you can show the reason why I made this. Let's see, is so that I could see the character when I go underneath here, but this is actually a floor for the top here. So, and I'm walking on top here. I can jump off. Now I did not make any off mesh links, so when I jumped off there, these guys had to actually go down the stairs. So, but if you want to make a transparent material, you would, let's see, I named that glass here. So you would just a normal, right click, create material. It's a standard shader. You would just change the rendering mode to transparent. And on here, you would want the alpha at 0. And, and to make it a little bit more easier to see through, I just changed the smoothness all the way to 1. I could also make this into a mirror by, upping the metallic there. Just some small little things that you can do with materials. That's pretty cool effects and cool to really look to see what you can do on that. So that's it for my presentation. I hope you enjoyed, and I look forward to your feedback. Thank you.